Hi guys, my name is Andrea. I'm from Mexico, and I really do love the episode about the limo. I've actually watched it every single New Year's Eve, right after 12. And honestly, the funny thing is, New Year's Eve is like my least favorite holiday of all. But I don't know, this episode just says to me what's important about a holiday, like it's not about what party you go to or about gifts or about making it extraordinary, but about the people you actually spend it with, about reflecting, about being thankful for one another. And I don't know, I guess that's just one of the things that I love the most about the show, that it makes you come back to the people you love and making sure you spend the most time as possible you can with them and cherish each other. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. This is amazing. So thank you, and thank you for changing my life for the better.
I'm alone. What a pity I won't be soon in New York City. When I see you, please permit me to tell you everything in New York City. Well, hello, welcome to another episode of How We Made Your Mother. I'm Josh Radner, and I am joined by my friend Craig Thomas. Hello, Craig.
Hey, Josh.
Hi.
Boy, I almost cry every time at the openings now that our wonderful producer Alec puts together. I literally almost start to cry every time.
Andrea, I kind of thought
so beautiful.
We could just play that letter. It's like that's pretty much that's the episode in some ways.
She summed it up. So thank you for joining us on today's episode. This will be the shortest one.
So if you're just tuning in, Andrea from Mexico, which I just love that letter. Thank you so much for that, Andrea.
Me too.
She was talking about episode 11 of How I Met Your Mother. I'm getting confused about titles. Like I say, How I Met Your Mother, How We Made Your Mother.
Very tricky.
But on this podcast, we are doing a rewatch. I played Ted Mosby on the show from, 2005 to 2014. I was in every single episode. Craig Thomas probably had a line or two, or every line in many of the episodes. He co-created the show.
I got in 2 jokes in the series.
You got in 2 jokes.
I got 2 jokes.
He co-created the show with Carter Bays. And we're working our way through it, and we're unpacking this mystery of why the show has endured, why people love it so much, why people watch the Limo episode every New Year's Eve, and what this show just has done to people and continues to do. But before we start today, Craig, talking about the Limo episode 11, I did want to do a little State of the Union, and I just wanted to ask you, how's it going doing this podcast for you?
Oh, I love it. And you've chosen the perfect moment to do State of the Union, because this is episode 11 out of 22. Almost all of the seasons were either 22 episodes or 24 in success. Once we became sort of more of a hit, they're like, give us a couple extra a year. And that's when that was a very good sign, went up to 24. And 1 year, because of the writer's strike in 2007-8, it was only 20. But so right now we're at the exact midpoint. And I am loving it. I have not watched a lot of these episodes in years. Getting to watch it and sort of share it with fans and hear, like we just did that amazing opening of this episode, hear what it means to people. I just find it so moving. It's just, I feel like I'm watching it. I feel like a different person watching it. I was so close to it when we were making it.
Yeah.
I saw it through such different eyes. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah. It's wonderful, and sort of, I'm marveling at what we did 20 years ago, right? I can't believe a lot of it. I'm like, how do we do that? We didn't know what we were doing.
I think when you're in it and you're close to it, and an episode's airing 6 weeks after you just made it, for me, my ego was just tied up in it in a different way than it is now. I watch it with so much more forgiveness, and I'm marveling at the fact that I was involved in this charming show that continues to delight people. And I told you I've just gotten back from the one leg of my tour, and I'm meeting all of these people who, the waitress at the restaurant I was at last night said, I got my whole sense of humor from you. It's what she told me, which I thought was fantastic.
And I said to her, "That's so cool."
I said, "Well, let's see. So let's see what you got. I'll be the judge of that.
Let's do a tight 5.
Yeah, let's do it." But I was thinking, sometimes I think that there's a tendency to dismiss TV, and I've been guilty of this too, as a kind of popular medium that I think, there's been so much quality television in almost novelistic ways. Our show, The Wire, The Sopranos, like, TV has really been elevated to high art, but it's also a populist medium, right? It's in everyone's home and now pockets, living rooms.
Yep.
But, if you think about our human need for story, I'm sure people were, stopping Sophocles on the street in the Agora or whatever and being like, I don't remember what he wrote, but you know what I mean? Like saying like...
I think Smokey and the Bandit 2 is what he wrote, not the
but
first
like saying,
one.
Stopping a playwright in Greece and saying the Oresteia trilogy really floored me.
But I've got a few notes.
But I got a few notes,
section in Ancient Greek.
Can you sign just... Electra on my arm because I'm going to get a tattoo. That's what people want me to write. People will dance on their arms so they get a tattoo. But I think there is a human, I really maintain there's this human ache for stories. We need them. And when people say to me like, this show changed my life. It taught me how to talk with my dad. It got me through my divorce. It, gave me my sense of humor. I take that really seriously now. And I really I continue to be moved to have been a part of something that affected people this way. But I also, it's so strange to be watching this with my wife. I'm watching almost every episode with her. Except this episode, we were separate because I was on tour. But just to, have a little, just to look back. It's weird when you do something on camera for this long. It's almost like you have this weird moving in both senses of the word, like photo album of your life. It's like, it's this weird documentary snapshot. And even though that wasn't what was going on in my life, it was partly what was going on in my life. At least that was my job. But most people don't have their jobs filmed and then beamed out to the rest of the world.
It must feel so weird. I think about this from your perspective in this rewatch so often. I'm like, well, Josh knows where he was that day. Yeah. That's him popping out of the top of a limo. He's like, that's what I was doing that day of work of my life 20 years ago.
Yeah.
No one gets that. And that's you. That's you at that age, at that minute, existing on planet Earth in that moment and watching it again and kind of going back into that. Like, I'm having a little bit of that kind of vertigo of like, I remember I was standing off to the side at Video Village watching the 4 cameras, the 4 monitors showing the 4 camera shots. But what is it? Is there kind of like a weird emotional vertigo of trying to like remember your way back into like what it looked like, say, within that limo set?
It just occurred to me, I remember, I think sometimes when you're in the apartment or you're in the bar, we did so much in there that it's hard to isolate. Oh, I remember that day, unless something really particularly strange happened. Yeah. But the limo became shorthand for this prison that we all shared together. Like, I remember us saying limo, like whatever was going on, we'd be like, well, at least we're not in the limo, because it was so intense. And I think, remind me, was it all shot in an actual limo, or was some of it tricked out like to look like a limo? Did we shoot some of it on the stage? I can't remember.
Well, it was an episode that Carter was on the set for, and he would probably have more memories than me, so I wish we had him in this one. But I think we were shooting the inside of the limo. I think a lot of it was really in that limo, I think, and it was really hard to shoot.
It was cramped. I mean, a lot of times there were like 4 people in like a 3-person back seat. I do have very strong memories of, one thing I really loved was how the sunroof kind of area becomes this other playing space. It's like
another room.
Well, it's like stepping out onto the balcony.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
like it has that feel. And I remember very strongly, like, one, it was joyful to get out of the limo, kind of get some air and pop up. But I really liked all the scenes that were played up there. I found it really, and I remember that final scene with Kobe, and maybe it was because it was episode 11, but this episode I think does a very good job, and we'll summarize what the episode is in 1 second, but it does a very good job of being, like we said, a self-contained episode. You could just tune in and you get it. You watch this gang of friends try to navigate this crazy New Year's Eve, but also the Ted and Robin thing. It's like you move the ball down the field. Like it really does that thing you guys were trying to do. You were having your cake and eating it too, I think, in a really nice way here.
Yeah, the very end of that episode where he walks across the street and the light changes to like walk as he walks into kind of the future. I love that shot. First of all, Pam Fryman. When Pam Fryman would put together a shot like that, we'd say that shot was deep fried for Pam Fryman. And that is a deep fried shot. That is a classic. And it feels like he's walking into a new year. He's walking into a new chapter. We don't know what's going to happen. It's a great way to say to the audience, hey, keep watching. Yeah. You're going to see some cool stuff.
And it's also, it's a purely cinematic moment. Like I'm always looking for moments. Like I'm going to reference my own work, but in liberal arts, there's this somewhat of a romance, but not quite, between a 35-year-old and a 19-year-old. And he's obsessed with their age difference, as he should be. And he works out the math. He says, when I was, 15, 16, she was 0. When I was 19, she was 3. Then he goes, well, when I'm so-and-so, she'll be so. And then the age starts seeming like less of a problem, but it's a totally silent scene. And it goes back and forth. It's just an a close insert shot on the page and his face. Boom, boom, boom. And the thing I loved about that is you cannot do that in a theater. That is a purely like cinematic shot. And and I love the last shot of the limo, because him walking away with that little grin on his face and the camera pulling up and just catching the pedestrian go sign is movie making. Like that is like, it tells you everything you need to know, and you feel it in your chest. It doesn't, it's not words.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
We'll be right back. Hey, Craig, how are you enjoying the springtime in New York City?
I'm enjoying it very much.
Yeah.
It's beautiful outside. For Mother's Day, I just took my mother to the Mets game, and it was so hot that she had to move to the shade and almost passed out. So I basically almost ended my mother's life for Mother's Day. But aside from that, I'm enjoying it.
How are you feeling about the smells of spring? Do you enjoy the smells of spring?
I love the smells of spring.
It's nice, right?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Nothing gets in the way of that ever.
Well, something could get in the way of it. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Yeah. If your kitty litter smells bad, there goes your spring.
I didn't think of that, but you're right. That would ruin everything.
That would ruin everything. But there's a fix for that.
There's a fix.
Pretty litter.
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to say that.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there's a fix for that. I did know the answer. Pretty litter. This is an ad for Pretty Litter. Pretty Litter obliterates odors so you can enjoy all the wonderful scents of spring. Right, Josh?
Well, I don't know. I just enjoy this because I get to say my favorite sentence. You ready?
That's what I was trying to set up.
That's a drum roll. Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. Yes!
Non-clumping. Everybody do a shot. You got to say non-clumping.
I was going to give it to you if you wanted it this week, but I took it.
I would never take non-clumping away from you. The Christmas morning look on your face when you get to utter the words non-clumping, it makes my whole...
I'm going to say it again. Pretty Litter's non-clumping formula traps odor and moisture. It's ultra absorbent. It's lightweight, low dust, and one 6-pound bag works for up to a month.
And I'm glad I get to say this one because this is what I like. Pretty Litter gives you peace of mind. It changes color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in my cat. My cat's fictional, but if I did have a cat, this is what I would use. Urinary tract infections, kidney issues, and more. I am a hypochondriac. I want this product somehow to be human-based.
So you could just be on a product and it'll tell you everything.
I would use it, yeah.
Since Pretty Litter ships free right to your door, you'll never run out, and you won't have huge kitty litter bags taking up space.
Pretty Litter helps keep your house smelling fresh and clean. Try it and you'll love it. Go to prettylitter.com/HWMYM, like the letters of our show, How We Made Your Mother, to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/HIMYM, HWMYM, to save 20% on your first order, get a free cat toy. prettylitter.com/HIMYM. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Non-clumping. I wanted to say it once too.
And now, back to the show.
And also, I should say, I found this, I looked up some fun facts about this episode. Our cinematographer, Chris LaFontaine, won an Emmy for cinematography for this episode. This was his Emmy-winning submission. So he won. And when you watch this one, it really looks beautiful. The night stuff outside on New York Street and the ending we just talked about, it's really quite moving to look at. It's a beautifully shot episode.
It's also hard. I don't think people understand. It's hard to get cameras into a limo, and it's hard to light a limo. Like it's there were technical challenges
really hard
that were kind of triumphant in this episode, and people don't understand. I don't think the
truly. And I will say the
involved.
irony. We should say. I mean, we've sort of summarized the episode. It's our big New Year's Eve episode. Ted rents a limo to try to steal back a good New Year's from what is a sea of terrible New Year's Eves. New Year's Eves are often terrible, as Ted says to the coat check girl in OK Awesome when they're listing stuff that's supposed to be fun that is not. New Year's Eve, which is a wonderful little sort of setup for Ted saying, okay, we're taking back New Year's Eve tonight. We're going to make this one fun. And he tries to do that for his group of friends, but there's this element of Robin dating this new guy who's super rich, and Ted has a date that night, and Ted's date sort of goes away, says you're in love with Robin, which is a great thing to hear in episode 11, the dead middle point of season 1 for where the rest of season 1's going. She leaves, and then Ted and Robin, is something going to happen? No, the billionaire guy comes back, finds Robin. He wasn't supposed to be available that night. He kind of gets in Ted's way, but then Ted and Robin have this wonderful moment at the end that promises more. I will say all of that summary to say, we tried to make an episode that was simple to shoot. That was how this idea came about. We had been asking so much of the crew. We had been spending too much money. We had been doing so many 60, 70 scene episodes that our wonderful producer, Susie Greenberg, whose praises we were just singing earlier today, and Pam Fryman and everybody made these episodes happen. We said, here's our gift to you. We're just going to make an episode mostly in this limo. Everybody's together for the most part. You're welcome. It's so simple. And by the end of shooting this episode, everybody was like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
This was the hardest one to shoot.
It was hard. It was hard. And I'm, I run a little claustrophobic, like it was a real,
we were wrong.
I remember on breaks when we would have a moment to step out and we'd be like, coming out of the.
Yeah. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. We drove a limo into the soundstage, made it sort of poor man's process, as they say, right? Just black out the windows and shot it on a soundstage. Mostly only the exterior limo stuff was actually shot on exterior New York Street. But the limo that we were shooting in was the same limo, ? Or was it a special limo where it was tricked out to have like a different limo where seats lifted out and walls lifted out? I'm sure it was something clever like that, but God damn it, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I wasn't on set that week.
I do have memory of an actual limo being in stage 22.
All the stuff that was inside was shot inside of a soundstage in this limo. I don't know if it was probably a special limo where stuff moved in and out, and then the limo that actually you see exterior on the street was not that limo because it was just a normal limo that actually drove and didn't have seats to lift it. But it was incredibly complicated, as it turned out.
Yeah. Like I said, it became a kind of shorthand, like, well, would you rather go back to the limo? It was like
brutal.
It
was supposed to be simpler.
We were a little scarred by it, but I mean, scarred relative to, it was still a good job. But I do think you picked up in here the runner of Ted and his schedule. His like needing to plan, his needing to have. Ted. They're like, no, we're 10 to 45. We're supposed to be at this party.
Yeah,
but the one person he will deviate from and improvise and go into like, well, let's see what happens, is Robin. He will he will tear up the schedule. He will chew the schedule and swallow it if Robin calls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which his date very much picks up on by the end.
Yeah.
Ted's poor date, who's the hugger, and she's very sweet about it, but she's like, you're in love with Robin. And it was just really exciting to hear someone say that to Ted's face in that moment on New Year's Eve. I loved that moment because it was like, well, yeah, that's what the rest of the season's going to be about. And
I thought that was, I thought it was so funny when he denies it. She says, you're clearly in love with Robin. And he's like, no. And he's very sincere. She says, and it's clear she's into you too. And he's like, wait, really? Like he can't.
He played that so great. He can't not get there. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at everybody else for daring to deviate from the schedule. But anything related to Robin, he's like, all right, we're off book here.
Just a shout out to Kathleen Perkins, who played Mary Beth, the hugger. The hugging coworker who was so wonderful. And also, if you've ever seen the TV show episodes, she was like a network executive or like the head of she was so
she's really
unbelievably funny
show.
in that. I remember years later just seeing her crush that show. She was fantastic. And had clearly encountered a bunch of executives. Like she understood the essence of that.
She knew.
Yeah. But I thought it was really funny. I was like, well, she hugs me a lot. Maybe that means she's into me. She's constitutionally incapable of not hugging people.
She has to hug everybody.
She hugs everyone.
It's her thing.
Yeah.
She was great. And we should say JP Manoux as Not Moby was great and iconic in this episode.
Not Moby has stuck in the culture.
Hey,
I
can
think.
you tell the story? Don't you have a real life story about the sort of intersection of reality?
Well, I know.
Can you share that?
I know Moby a bit. I mean, if you live in LA long enough, you get to know Moby.
He's the Richard Kind of LA.
Yeah, he's around.
Wait, isn't Richard Kind also the Richard Kind of LA? Anyways,
yeah. But I ended up, I used to go to these parties when he lived not far from me, but then I moved not long after, like 3 doors down from him. So he was my neighbor. I would see him, we'd be walking dogs and just have a conversation. But I remember at some point I said, hey, do people ever tell you about this How I Met Your Mother episode? And he was like, yeah, all the time. And it's funny because when people run into him, I'm sure they were like, are you Moby or not Moby? But he definitely was feeling I don't think it was a burden, but I think he was feeling like, yeah, I know this episode is out there. I don't know if he'd ever seen it, but I think he had pieced together what the gist was.
It's hilarious. He's like, what does that mean? Why are people saying the phrase "not Moby" to me?
Where did you come up with how Moby and not Steven Tyler? Like, where did that come from?
I think it was just that we thought it had to be a guy that you could conceivably get it wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like Moby had, you do sometimes see guys that look like Moby, right?
Yeah.
You had that just for Alec Lev, our producer.
Alec looks like Moby.
Who could look like Moby. You got the glasses on, you get the sort of like hipster track jumpers. I'm not saying that's what Moby in real life does now, but for a certain time in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a very iconic Moby look. There he is, Alec's replicating it with his glasses. I think it was just we were pitching on who could you plausibly really get into a limo and spend a bunch of time with before realizing it's not that person. And it just Moby was somehow, it was just the platonic ideal of that idea. It just was perfect.
Do you know how it's like we were talking in the last episode, like the pineapple was the perfect fruit and Moby was the perfect rock star for this.
Perfect rock star. Yeah. I don't know if you spend enough time and you have to sit around for like half a day in a writer's room just pitching on stuff and to land at Moby or to land at Pineapple. And you go, I can't believe this is what I'm doing with my life. I can't believe I'm being paid to do this, to talk for half a day about who's the best person. And then like 5 hours later, it's like Moby. But then you're glad you spent the time because not Moby was, I don't think we could have beaten it. It's
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfection.
Yeah. And it also like it made me feel, again, almost like the Belle and Sebastian song, it made me feel like we're on a show of the moment. You know what I mean? Right. Like we're not on a show that's like talking about Lawrence Welk. Like we're like really happening in real time. And now it's a period piece. Like now it feels like, okay, we look back, that was 2005. There a couple things I wanted to that just delighted me that I just wanted to say. Barney's CD is hilarious, and the fact that it should just rise and fall, but no, it should just rise and rise and rise, and that that Not Moby agrees with him. Yeah. Oh,
when they link up about it, and Not Moby is saying insightful things about music, it's like clearly this is Moby. He's
Moby.
a music guy. He knows everything about music.
Yeah.
Moby's second in Barney.
But was it hard to get the rights to "You Give Love a Bad Name"? Is that what the song's called?
First of all, that's the song, You Give Love a Bad Name. First of all, I think it's the most we've ever played a song in an episode because that song starts and stops like 14 times.
Yeah.
I can't, I think you have to pay more for that. I wish this would be a good Andy Gowan question. If we ever talk to our music supervisor, Andy Gowan, I think you probably pay extra. You're like, we're going to play it 15 times. Is that okay? I think there's probably an upcharge there.
Yeah.
But it was expensive. It was probably our most expensive one today. It's a Bon Jovi. It's an absolute classic Bon Jovi song.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was a lot of money. But you want to know something? Talking about spending a half a day debating Moby, I cannot tell you how much of a debate there was about what song this should be. It had to be a song that right when you hit play, it's just all the way in.
It's all.
And we went. There's no slow build. There's no intro piece. It's right. It has to be a song that starts. And Phil Lord and I. It's probably the closest we've come to actually having discord in our relationship because Phil Lord, whom I adore, Lord Miller, they were writers on the show in season 1. Phil was going to die on the hill of Any Way You Want It by Journey.
Oh.
Is that what that song's called? You know, when the song comes in, it's like, Any Way You Want It. Yeah, that's what, And it comes in so hot, just like shot through the heart. Like it's another song that comes in like that. So it got whittled down to this like death match between those two songs. And we were almost shouting at each other about like, and I was of the moment, Bon Jovi, I was like a teenager, preteen at that moment. That song just hit at that point for me, much more than Journey was, 10, 15 years before that. And so I think I might have made the final call. Like it's got to be that episode, or Carter did.
I do remember in the network run through, I think Dave Baker's was just pressing play every time, off. And I do remember it killing.
It's funny, it's so every funny. Time.
And it gets funnier. And it's also like when Kobe starts singing it, when Robin starts singing it to try to amp up the car, is so funny. That would be also a good Andy Gowan. We should have Andy Gowan on to talk about the music.
We should do an Andy Gowan episode to talk about the music.
It'd be very funny to say when Robin starts singing it, was that another $15,000?
How much did we pay for that?
How much did we pay for her just to sing it?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think we got to ask him that. I'm almost positive we would have had to pay for extra for that too. But it's the perfect song. It comes in on 11. It just comes in it comes in the red.
Yeah. Also there's music like needle drops, which is an industry term.
Insider term.
But they're so important. Like sometimes you can introduce like a song like You Love, like Not a Surf, which maybe a lot of people hadn't heard. This is one, it's dependent on it being in the cultural bloodstream for 20 years. Like you need something that everyone, that's part of the comedy about it, is it's just like, it just does the thing it's supposed to do. And it also does it at moments that it's inappropriate,
Yeah. Oh, there's like the awkward sort of downbeat silence and then it pops in again. That was a laugh out loud moment for me watching it. And also that Barney's entire psyche is like, as soon as that CD, his Get Psych mix goes away, he becomes Emily Dickinson. Yeah. Right? As soon as he doesn't have that anymore, he just spirals into darkness, which was hilarious.
Well, it's almost like it's his drug for the night. Like it's his way to stay psyched. And once he has it, he falls into an existential pit. So is this the first Ranjit reappearance since the pilot?
Yes, Ranjit appeared in 2 episodes in season 1, episode 1 pilot, and episode 11, The Limo.
Okay, there it is. Okay,
wow, it's so funny how sometimes characters like loom large in the psyche of the show, but like, it's amazing that he was only on 2.
He has so much presence. He so much presence pops on screen.
He was also the kindest, sweetest human. Like every time he would show up, you were never not delighted to see Marshall come on set. He was so wonderful. I also love, I don't want you to see me pissed.
I love that. I don't want you to see me pissed, Ted. It's so great. He's like, they've struck up a friendship.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman. Was Ranjit driving for the limo company and Ted found him? Did Ted rent a limo and hire Ranjit to be the driver? Like, how does this work? And how did Ted track him down? Do we just assume at the end of that champagne night, they were like, let's all stay in touch?
Let's all stay in touch. They probably, let's all buy a bar type of moment. I think, it's definitely strongly implied that Ranjit now drives for the limo company too, because he says, I'm moving up in the world. He's moved up from cabs to driving a big old limo for special events.
A couple other things. This is the first time I ever heard the phrase, and I love it, but when Lily said these dogs are barking, was that a Courtney Kang line? I feel like that might have been a Courtney Kang line.
That is an old, that phrase pre-exists.
I know it existed, but I had never heard it before.
Did Courtney pitch it? I could see Courtney pitching that. God, I can't remember. I love these dogs. I love when Lily would just say weird shit like that. These dogs are barking.
These dogs are barking,
It's so funny. Yeah. And
Natalia's great. The drunk.
Very funny. I super love you.
I super love you. Sometimes guest stars, it's actually very hard to guest star on a show because the 5 of us, we live there, right? They're coming into our house. We know the whole crew. It's the warmth that you feel and the ease and comfort you feel when you're a series regular is so different than what a guest star feels. They get cast very quickly. They go into a wardrobe fitting. Yeah. They're on set maybe the next that afternoon or the next day or 2 days later. Maybe they haven't even been. I don't remember. I don't think she was at the run through. I think she got cast later. So I'm always amazed when actors can come on and just crush it as a guest star because it's not your home. You're really coming in. I remember someone said, here's what guest starring on Law and Order is like. It's like, I'm unloading groceries. My wife is dead. Like, you just have to pivot from this insane, like, banal task to the most emotional thing. And the series regulars are just like, that's right, your wife is dead. Like, they get to be stoic and kind of, chill, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to fly in and do that. And this was a great episode for that, right? Everybody in this episode was great, and they needed to be because everyone's stuck in a fucking limo. I love that it's an episode about New Year's Eve parties, and you don't see 1 second of a single New Year's Eve party. It's very like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Like the Hamlet story is happening somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, also, the thing about New Year's Eve being miserable, like, this is another thing where what was actually happening in the fictional world was mirroring what was happening in our world. Like, we weren't happy in that limo. Like, it started to feel incredibly claustrophobic. You needed to get out and stretch your legs, and it was just like a pressure
it must
cooker
have been
in there.
hot in there too, right? Like
it was
lighting in your
fun.
face, and you're maybe. And I wonder if that's why. Because I have one ding. I like to give notes on the episodes when I watch them now, and. No one was dressed warmly enough for New Year's Eve in New York. It felt a little LA. It felt a little LA, right? There wasn't evidence of big bulky jackets. And then like even what they were wearing, maybe the jackets were all in a corner somewhere of the limo in a pile maybe, but even what they're wearing, like Robin's in this like sleeveless, like it's like the whole time I'm like, they would be so fucking freezing. But I bet part of it is how hot it was in that limo. And wardrobe was like, they're going to be sweating balls in there if we put them all in sweaters.
I'm almost sure we had that conversation, and I'm almost sure that was a consideration. Like and you don't want to have bulky jackets that you're carrying in and out of the car. I think we just made a game time decision. Like, we're not going to. Yeah. And also the planet, wasn't as warm as it is now. So
it would have been cold.
Do you know what?
I was watching with Rebecca, and she was like, "No, I call bullshit. They would be much more bundled up here." I was like, "All right."
Do you know what made me laugh? Which was something that I can't remember who was the big champion of this. I think Jason was in on this, but we had this the whole 9 years. But when the car stops, we would go like that.
Yeah.
And I noticed there was one that I kind of missed. Like, I was like, oh yeah, we're supposed to. But everyone was really into doing it. But I always thought it was silly because you're not going that fast. It's New York City, right? Like, you're going 15 miles an hour and you stop. You don't
bumper to bumper traffic.
You don't lean forward. But everyone was really into doing it. And it was just like this like funny little joke that is not it's not funny in the episode. It's just, it was funny on set.
That's really.
It's almost getting the generals.
It's trying to get the general
to
salute, right? Yeah, that's really funny. I love those things that can become runners over 9 years, just in your own mind as actors. Like you guys are working in guys a lot for a while because Michael Shea always used to say guys. You're like, if there's just the word guys in a script, you would always change it to guys. As a shout out to our AD Michael Shea.
This is a sentence that I don't think had ever been uttered on national television before, but I think we were the first to say, "Hell of a woman, let's go get some hot dogs." Right?
It's such a weird turn.
Hell of a woman.
It's very wistful, hell of a woman.
In some ways, Marshall's entire personality is encapsulated in that whole line. So he's got like his like romantic kind of like, I love this woman and I'm going to always be here for her. And also, God damn it, let's get those hot dogs.
Crisp pie hot dogs. I love after that moment, the cut to the next scene is him saying, "Wow, we're riding around in a limo eating hot dogs. It's like we're the president."
But
that's
you know
what
what's hilarious?
The president does.
That's now what our president does.
That is 100% now.
But back then it was kind of absurd. But now, literally, like, our president is probably in limos with Big Macs.
He's 100% doing that as we speak.
And this old man, he must admit he fell in love with you. New York City.
And now, commercials. End of commercials. Back to show.
Okay, this is where I got to call out a dated thing, and it made me laugh every time.
Yeah. The circuits are busy?
I can't get through the circuits are jammed.
Circuits. what the fuck was happening? We said that so many times.
So many
It's
times.
so embarrassing
You
and
picture
weird.
like the old timey operator like trying to plug in the things and get the calls through.
I was like, are we Radar from MASH? What's happening? Are they we're trying to get to Tokyo on the line to see if they've got some extra
Do you know what? So
antibiotics.
this exchange made me laugh because Marshall goes, I can't get through. The circuits are jammed. And you made me say, well, that's New Year's Eve for you.
That's New Year's Eve for you. What the fuck? Was that a note or were we asked to do? That made my skin crawl so much. I'm like, is it 1874? Like, what's happening right now?
The Pony Express. I can't get through to Lily.
Lily, hi Lily, it's Marshall. Stop. We're trying to meet you for New Year's Eve. Stop. And then at the end, there's a nice daguerreotype photograph, whoosh, with the big, it's everything about those moments were so, I was sitting there going, why did we act like it was, I can't explain it. It feels like it was a note that we got.
If enough HIMYM listeners want this, I think a funny t-shirt would be, I can't get through, the circuits are jammed.
The circuits are jammed. It's like 3 times we've had that phrase in there.
It's 4.
Fuck?
I think it's 4.
It's
I
4.
mean, it really is a runner in the thing. And it makes us look like we were, like MASH. Like it makes it look like
it's 100 years ago. And it's like, were we so concerned that people would be like, why can't they get something on a cell phone? Sometimes you don't hear your ringer. The call didn't go through. That happens now in 2025. There was no need to explain that at any moment. And yet we're like really over-explaining that one. Oh my God. God. Sorry, everyone. That was a mess on our part.
Can I ask if there was some broken logic with Marshall's phone?
Yeah, I think there was. Because I think she did. I think one of those, like, the circuits are like, I think one of those, his phone was still stuck in the limo, right? And she's still saying that stupid line when we didn't even have to say it there because anyway, I'm sorry, everyone.
No. I mean, these are the kind of funny things that it's almost like, like famous, when props get misplaced shot to shot, like famous in great movies. Right?
Oh, yeah. It happens in everything. It happens in everything. You can't avoid it. I think in this one, too, I think Moby leaves with the disc, leaves with like the case of the Get Psyched mix, not just the CD itself. But then all of a sudden it's back in the limo empty as proof that he's taking the disc. I think that was a glitch. I think I remember getting called out on that and being like, yeah, that feels like weird.
When I was editing one of my movies, I worked with this great editor both times named Michael Miller, and he had edited Raising Arizona and Ghost World and all these really incredible.
I want to talk about editing.
Yeah, and he did a couple Coen, but he was a great editor. I learned a lot from him. And we had lost a scene. We had edited out a scene, and then it made it look like they changed clothes in the middle of the day. And and he said to me, I'll never forget this. He said, audiences don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And do you know the Robert Redford movie 3 Days in the Condor?
Yeah. Yeah.
The original script was called 6 Days in the Condor. And in editing, they were like, we need to compress the time.
Oh my God.
It works better as 3 days. And if you watch the movie in the middle of the day, they just switch.
They're just changing clothes.
They're just changing clothes.
So funny.
And he said no one has ever brought it up in movie history. Like no one says anything about it, which I think is an incredible thing. Like what are we watching and what are we paying attention to?
Yeah.
But I think some of these things, like I think there's a timeless aspect to How I Met Your Mother that is why it's so widely beloved, because teenagers right now are watching it and it feels relevant to them. They can relate to it. It's not so far like it's been swallowed by the past, but there are these markers that it was 2005. And I think that they're sweet and cool and not to be apologized for, actually.
No, it captures it. And look, it's a story being told from 2030 about 2005. And in 2030, you'd be looking back at it, saying what we're saying right now. We're in 2025 right now.
Yeah, you almost created a context where you can get away with all of it.
It's okay to say the year. It's okay because it's a story about that year.
Yeah.
What'll be weird is when the real world passes 2030, if we all survive that long. Who knows?
Yeah.
TBD. And then it's going to be like, oh shit, that's adding another level of weirdness. But at the moment, it's still, it's okay. That happened in that year of Ted Mosby's life. And future Ted gets to talk about it. And he's not going to upgrade anyone's phones in the story. Although I don't think anyone was saying the phrase, the circuits are busy, even in 2005.
I don't remember ever saying that except on the show. Well, that's New Year's Eve for you.
That's New Year's Eve for you. That line jumped out at me too, Josh. And I was like, poor Josh having to say that line. Why did
you'll notice that I really try to make
You
short
swallowed
work of it. I was like, well, that's New Year's
Is that
Eve
what
for
you do when you get a real clunker? You're like,
yeah,
let
you
me
just try
cut
to
this out.
act like it's you just throw it away, you know.
I'm gonna look for more of those as we continue the rewatch.
I think if it was like the third or fourth season, I would have gone up to you and said, I'm not saying this line.
Can I get rid of this? You should have. You damn well should have.
I know. I think I was still trying to be.
Those lines are in there.
I was still trying to be a good student. You know, I was still trying to get the A. I thought you said when not Moby says, I thought you said Tony, and then he says, so your name is Tony, and he says no.
No.
It's so funny.
He is so crazy, and he's wonderful in that episode. And then what I love about that moment is you figure, well, that's it. We're never going to know this guy's name. And then there's that wonderful, way later in the episode, Marshall says, Moby signs my shirt. He turns around and says Eric on the top of the shirt. Like, we did get to solve that mystery. The guy's name is Eric, which, as you pointed out, Josh, sounds not at all like Tony.
Or Moby.
Or Moby.
And also, so like, just unhinged. Eric, it's just like really crudely drawn. Like, it's not like a signature. It's just like, the guy's a proper psycho. Eric.
He's a psycho. He's waving that gun around. JP Manoux captured that unhinged energy very well.
Speaking of waving the gun around, I did catch something I did that I thought was delightful. When he's waving the gun around, I hold the party schedule note card up to my head to protect me from an errant bullet. If you look, I'm holding it up like, oh God.
There's a metaphor there because Ted thinks plans will save him.
Plans will
save everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my God. So yeah, I think it's the most we've ever played one song in the Bon Jovi song. I know there's probably no other episode where a song starts and stops a dozen times. And I will call one out, one other cool song out in there. The song Major Leagues by Pavement plays also in a Major Leagues, or maybe it's just Major League Singular. Great song from Terror Twilight by Pavement that is about being ready for great things. It is a great like love song that sort of talks about, I've been a screw up and I'm ready, like bring on the Major Leagues, like bring on a real love now. And that's near the end, that great ending where Ted walks off kind of into the future. But it's sort of great because you think that's the ending song, but then it gets cut off by Robin's billionaire, 100-millionaire boyfriend showing up, and he kind of cuts off that song. I like the kind of fake out where you think that song's kind of going to carry you through to the happy ending, and it doesn't. It gets cut off, and Ted has a very bittersweet New Year's Eve with this little moment of hope from Robin. But that was a little fake out ending song of Pavement that didn't turn out to actually be the ending song. I like that.
We talked about this, but I loved the sunroof being this other playing space. And I just enjoyed, there was something so pleasurable. Maybe it was just I got to leave the limo, but there was something so nice about popping up and having a scene up there. Yeah. And also we had talked about this when Mary Beth says she can tell Robin's into him, and he says, wait, really? And it occurred to me, like, Ted is a bad actor. Like yes. I hope I'm a good actor, but Ted is a bad actor. It's true. He's not a master of disguise. Like Barney's a pretty good actor, and most of his life is somewhat of an act, or a lot of it.
Yes.
But Ted is just is it guileless? Is that the word? Like he's
guileless.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no smoke screen. There's nothing. He's not masking. He can't help himself but ask his date if she really thinks Robin likes him. It's that there's something so it's sort of shitty and great at the same time because Ted just can't lie. He can't cover that up. I love that. I love that you played that moment great.
Speaking of smoke screens, I love Marshall emerging from that steam.
Oh my God. Lily, I'm going to go call Marshall, and she just means calling his name out. I love when we have those little magic New York moments. In that entire city, she can call his name echoing through the buildings, through the canyons of New York, and he will come running out of the smoke. That I love the metaphysical weirdness of that.
New York is a very strange place. It's this intensely small village, and it's one of the biggest cities in the world all at the same time.
All at the same time.
And there's something like, if you really understand New York and the geography of at least Manhattan, that's impossible.
It's impossible.
Like it's too loud. It's too crazy. Like even if he was half a block away, you can't hear someone screaming half a block
on New Year's
away
Eve,
on New Year's Eve in New York City. But it's magic. Like Alec and I talk about this, like just adding magic into scripts. Like Alec, I'm going to tell something you told me, but about Fargo. Speaking of the Coen brothers, you said a female police chief investigating a murder in where was it, Minnesota, is great, but that she's pregnant is magic, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's just these little details that enchant a script a little bit more, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
I also I remember Jason loving emerging from, I mean, it's almost like a professional wrestler coming out of the dressing room, like in the fog. Like there was something you could tell he was in the same way, like, okay, awesome. He loved the dance. Like he loved coming out of that.
Yeah.
That steam.
No, he appears out of the smoke. The Bon Jovi song for the first time becomes full score. It's not being played in the limo. It's actually the score, and it plays him in, and it is a very get psyched moment. And Jason leaned into it. I love that moment so much. And there is magic, like the fact that not Moby is at the same party they were going to go to.
Right.
The 100 millionaire finding Robin at all. Marshall's name somehow magically calling him out of the mist. His wife calling his name sort of makes him appear. I feel like he was way far away from them, and a portal appeared, and he ran through the portal towards Lily's voice.
And he jumped down 3 floors.
Yeah, he jumped 3 floors, but Lily's voice made it all possible because he loves her so much. I love that moment so much.
What's wonderful about this show's use of that kind of magic is that it's almost leaning on the fact that you have purchased a kind of trust from your audience to then allow to break all the rules that you have. Because certainly if you mess up continuity somewhere and you're wearing the wrong clothing, you're wearing the wrong that's like a ding for an audience. They'll sort of notice that. If all of a sudden you just break reality and just say this thing, what you're saying is, do you want to have fun or not?
Right.
And I think that once you've got them, they love these people and they know what the show is. And it's not a show that's supernatural. This is a real life show I'm in. But now you're asking, hey, do you want to do something crazy with me? Come jump out a window with me and land 3 floors down. And you had them at that point, and so you could introduce this kind of thing.
We trust the audience to make these magical realism-based leaps, except in the case of not being able to complete a cell phone call, in which case we have to say the circuits are busy. That one we had to explain.
Sure.
Marshall appearing out of the smoke, that's fine.
Well, How I Met Your Mother, like, because it's this memory play,
yes,
you're allowed to bend time and space and defy the laws of physics in a different way.
What a trick. What a magic trick to get to use. The trick of the unreliable narrator, the unreliability of memory itself.
This is another magic moment, is that Marshall steals back the CD from Not Moby. Like, one, how would he know? Like, the amount of leaps that Marshall would have to make to figure out that this is Barney's CD, Not Moby stole it.
How could you see that?
But he thinks he's still Moby.
He still thinks he's Moby.
But he steals it back. And it made me feel, because we get it, I don't remember when telepathy appeared, but it's one of my favorite How I Met Your Mother jokes, is that they can speak telepathically to each other.
Yes, they speak telepathically.
But it made me realize that, like, they actually already have telepathy.
Yes.
Like, they know what they need. They anticipate each other's needs. They can they're sensing something about each other. They're an ecosystem or a biosphere.
It's even better that he thought it was really Moby. He's like, I'm stealing that thing back from Moby. Moby cannot steal. Moby may think he's a big famous star, but he cannot steal my friends Get Psyched mix.
Yeah.
And Barney is like suddenly whole again when he gets that back. I really loved rewatching this one. This is a fun one. We didn't do a Christmas episode in season 1. I can't quite tell you why. Maybe it had to do with air dates. Maybe we just didn't have a good idea for it. We had a good idea for a Thanksgiving episode and a good idea for a New Year's episode and a good idea for a Halloween episode, but we skipped Christmas. I'm so glad we did a New Year's one. What I loved about the comment that began this episode, I forget her name. Forgive me, Alec. Do you remember a person's name at the beginning? Andrea remind me of everything about Andrea from Mexico. Andrea from Mexico. I know. I just wanted to make sure I was getting it right. What I loved about her comment was that she says she watches it every year right after midnight. I love that that's part of her tradition. You know what I mean? That's she hits play on that, just like starting up the Bon Jovi song. So thank you, Andrea. Sorry, I forgot your name briefly. From Mexico, your comment was amazing. I love that it's part of your New Year's tradition. We didn't do too many New Year's episodes, but this one was a good one.
I feel like we're actually up to the point plot-wise where Derek comes back and Ted is crushed. And I will say, I don't know, there was something. I really believed Ted's devastation when Derek hops in that limo. Like there was something about my face that I was like,
great.
that was good. That was good film acting, Radner.
Oh, I like hearing you say that.
Yeah.
I like hearing you admit that you've been good on this TV show.
I felt like I really felt for him. I was like, this is such a bummer for him.
Yes.
And the night was going particularly well, for him vis-a-vis Robin up until that point. But I think he says the line, or maybe the narrator says, all night long I've been trying to chase something down that was right there in that limo. Does he say that?
Yeah. That's it.
And it made me think about, you really watch these people from their mid to late 20s to their early to mid 30s. That's kind of the arc. And it's a really pivotal time, that decade, 25 to 35, let's call it. Is huge, right? And there's a huge transition. And I think your 20s are really about chasing experiences. That's why it's like, we have 5 parties to hit. We're going out. We're gonna like go west, young man. Like we're seeking our fortune. We're seeking romance. We're seeking connection. All of it, and it's out there, right? Everything is outside of you. But then maturity, I wrote this down, is realizing it's about what's inside you and what's right in front of you. Yeah. Right. Like it's like there's not a better life lurking out there. It's like the universe is inside me, and also the people I love are in front of me, and it's best to be present with those people. So I think that in some ways that's the moral of the episode, which is like,
and Ted changes. Ted learns that in that episode, because he's driving them all over the city, and he says, "No, the best party's right here." I loved Ted in that moment when he said that.
This is as clear an illustration of it's about the journey, not the destination, because they literally never get to their destination.
You never get out of the limo.
It's all journey.
It's all journey,
but not the journey song.
Except for not that song. Sorry, Phil Lord. Yeah. To be fair, it also would have worked great. To be fair.
No, I could. You could make a case for that. But there's something because the shot through the heart really just works every time.
It just pops so hard. Comes in at 1,000,000.
I will say that I thought the last scene with me and Kobe was pretty perfect. The writing of it was perfect. There was no fat on it. It's just so simple. Yeah. And you have enough history fueling them at this point, 11 episodes in, where not much needs to be said.
Yep.
It's like, it's this, and you could almost plausibly make the case, let's say Ted thought it was a bigger deal than she did. You could almost make the case, like, you could interpret that as romantic or not. Like, it was actually, we threaded an interesting needle there.
Yeah. It was enigmatic. There was something charged to it. It was there. I love that moment. It tees up the entire rest of season 1 in the best possible way. Pineapple kind of brought it back, sort of just like got those embers going again a little bit, with Ted sort of calling her and bringing this back up. It had been a little bit on the back burner, the Robin thing, for a while, and this is bringing it back forward. And this launches, I would argue, this is a really good midway point of a season episode, because it really launches the second half. Yeah.
It also made me feel like, when I was watching Ted, really through the first 11 episodes, like, I think there's a pattern. I don't know if this is like if there's a term for this, but I hear from a lot of people who say, "Oh, I was very dear friends with my husband. He was just in my friend group, but I never thought of him that way." And then you kind of like, when the lights come up at the end of whatever your age you are, and you go, "Oh, this is the person I like the most and feel the most comfortable around." I feel like Ted's kind of like the prototype for the guy, like, in your friend group that a woman eventually realizes is like the best and kindest guy and falls for him. But he's easy to overlook when you're on that experience hunt, Yes. You kind of don't see that guy. And I think that's what he said in his first monologue, like that monologue in the pilot, like, "I'm not good at this stuff, but I'd be a really good husband." Yeah.
Once you realize it's not about getting to the 5 parties, the party's right here.
This is it. The party is here, And I think, like, they get so excited, like, when Marshall comes back or Lily, like, gets back, because it's like, it doesn't feel right unless they're all together. Yeah. And in some ways, this episode, more than any other episode, is the 5 of them are a gang. Like, they're an absolute gang, and Robin has been fully folded in. So I was pretty delighted by this episode. I remember loving the script and it being a hard shoot, but I think it endures.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. Yeah.
We thought we were giving everyone the simplest shoot of the year, and everyone was cursing our names by the end of the week, but it was a good one.
So we're up to our very special section, which I think I'm going to amend this, Alec, but I'm just now going to call this Questions and observations from a clinical psychologist who's never seen How I Met Your Mother and also happens to be married to Josh. I just cut out relationship expert because I don't know that she would describe herself that way, and I don't know that anyone could describe themselves that way. Do you know what I mean? I'd be wary of a relationship expert, except Terry Real, who's a very interesting psychologist, if you've ever listened to him. But he's very smart about relationships. But anyway.
All right, we will amend it. We will have amended it in our graphic if you're watching this on YouTube. That will be removed. And here she is, the not relationship expert.
This episode almost felt like a microcosm of a macro theme of the series, which I think is summed up by what Ted said at the very end of the episode. And I wrote it down. So he said, "You probably want to feel bad for your old man at this point in the story. Well, don't. Not every night has a happy ending, but all of it's important. All of it's leading somewhere." And for a sitcom, this is truly a metaphysical, spiritual lesson. We make plans, the unexpected happens. We have a small degree of control, and then there's a massive amount that's beyond our control. In this case, the traffic, Lily's feet hurting, Marshall forgetting his phone, not Moby waving around a gun in the limo. But the message of the episode that I took home was to have faith that whatever happens, even if it seems absolutely awful at the time, it is indeed all important. It's all leading you somewhere, and that somewhere is where you belong. And for Ted, the planner whose plans were undone, it still ultimately led to that moment that we were waiting for, that kiss with Robin. And though this is only episode 11 and I have just shy of 200 more to go, my best guess is the entire show is going to unfold following this spiritual lesson in a very similar way.
Wow. That's too good. That's better than anything we've said so far. So could we just, Alex, should we just edit it down to that one?
Mm-hmm. It's just going to be Andrea and Jordana. That's the whole episode.
I think that's a good cut. Cut out all the dudes. That's such a great comment. I love that she singled out that ending narration, and I love that idea of it's all important, which is different than saying it's all going to work out. I'm happy with that wording in that narration because it's true. It's important. It's not all good. It's not all bad. It's important. It's important because it's part of your story, and it's the accumulation of those sort of story beats of your own life that lead you where you need to be, or where you want to be, or where you hope to be, or where you never thought you would be, but then you're happy there.
You know, it reminded me of something I'd read that said, like, never trust a memoir or a biography that doesn't have like some scandal in it, or the protagonist doesn't look bad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like any biography where it's just, that's hagiography, right? Where like, is that like how they describe like the lives of saints? Like no one's that interested in reading how it all went great. Like we want to hear struggle. We want to, and you trust a narrator when they actually, Jason's really great at telling stories where he's kind of the butt of the joke. Like he loves it when he has been humiliated. Like he loves telling those stories. I always admired that about him. You know,
Me too.
He's really good at telling stories where it's like he doesn't look that great in the story.
Yeah.
But him telling it is charming, and you forgive him whatever his behavior was because he's willing to share it. It's almost like one of the things, this is going deep in the weeds, but one of the reasons that the Torah, the Old Testament, was a revolutionary kind of earthquake in narrative is because every story of a people was written by the victors, and it was written about how great everyone was. And the Torah and the story of this little tribe that got knocked around is just one idiotic move after another. Like they really cataloged their own folly, right? Yeah. And their own, and how they didn't listen to the Lord this way, and they didn't, you know, and it's maybe it's endured because it's honest. Yeah. And it's not hagiography. Yeah. It's I think we trust people. Where did I hear when you list your accomplishments, you breed competition. When you lead with vulnerability, you breed community, you know? Yes. So I think, you know, even though Ted, sometimes you can go like, oh God, why won't this guy get it together? It's actually his superpower that he is leading with here's another way I messed up. Oh my God, let me tell you about this night I really put my foot in my
Yes.
mouth. Let me tell you this.
Ted is the embodiment of this
Yes,
spirit. Like, it's all getting dinged up.
And in some ways, that's actually, it's occurring to me now, it's an incredibly loving thing to tell your children when they're ready to hear, I'm a human, I'm an imperfect human being. Your dad's a screw up. But also, he landed on his feet and he did okay. So I think it's a great observation that there's a kind of microcosm, macrocosm thing going on here that Jordana pointed out.
Yeah, it's a great observation.
Isn't my wife smart?
Your wife's really smart.
Yeah.
She's really good. You should hold on to that one. Whether or not she's officially a relationship expert, I think you should keep her around.
I think you're going to say whether or not
she may be a
I think you're going to say whether or not she's officially your wife. And I was like, yeah, she's officially my wife. Back off, man. Well, that was super fun, Craig, going deep on that episode. I really enjoyed that.
I like that one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Isn't it funny that we're going to have favorite episodes of this show that won't necessarily correspond to our favorite episodes of How I Met Your Mother? They're just like the conversation, it led somewhere cool, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll be
the HIMYM episode was garbage, but this podcast episode was really fun.
The circuits were jammed, though.
The circuits were jammed.
Yeah. If we can't get anything going, like we're just like, the circuits are jammed.
Circuits are just jammed today. Look, that's New Year's Eve for you. You're welcome for that turn of phrase.
Yeah. Well, we like to end our episode with some viewer listener mail. And we have a lovely letter today from Jessica, and Craig is going to read it for us.
Yes, this is lovely, and a little conversation talking point emerges at the end of it. So here we go. Ready? This is it's from Jessica. She says, "Hi, Josh and Craig. Jessica here from New Brunswick, Canada. Shout out to Canada. We love our Canadian fans, and we love our Canadian characters." Is a plural, or I think we had a few over the years, but mainly Robin. My husband, Tristan, introduced me to HIMYM when we first started dating, and it quickly became a cherished part of our lives. The show holds such significance to us that it actually played a role in our wedding day. From gifting my soon-to-be husband a blue French horn, to open the morning of the wedding, to having Heaven by the Walkmen play during our recessional. Great song. You have to wait till the end of the series to get to it. And the unforgettable moment of our bosses surprising us with a cameo of Josh during their heartfelt speech. I know cameos might seem like a small gesture to celebrities, but hearing Josh say, as Ted Mosby said, "Love is the best thing we do," on our wedding day was nothing short of legendary, captured beautifully in the photos and video footage of our reactions. Please send us those, by the way, Jessica. It warms my heart to see how both of you remain humbled and perhaps a touch astonished by the profound impact your creation has had on countless lives. My question for both of you is this: is there a show or film series that evokes the same feelings in you that HIMYM does for its fans? I eagerly anticipate this journey of dissecting every last episode. Please know that you both and Carter have conjured something truly spectacular, a treasure that will continue to resonate for years to come. Thank you, Jessica.
Wow, thanks, Jessica.
What a lovely, every part of that. Being part of their wedding. I love that you did that cameo. Did you, I don't know if you remember doing that specific one years ago or not, or did you know it was going to be part of a wedding? I don't, I
get asked to do
You've done a bunch of these
weddings. I always make a joke about being underdressed. That's kind of my, but yeah. I mean, sometimes they'll say, can you throw in a Ted Mosby quote you love? And for me, that's like the one, from, for a wedding. I think that's the best one. Yeah.
It's the whole series, right? That's that. If you had to distill the series down to one line, that could be in the running to be.
And I think it's there's different kinds of love. Like we have that one word, but like C.S. Lewis has a book called The Four Loves, right? And it's like eros and philos, and like there's different. But I think love, more broadly speaking, is kind of How I Met Your Mother, because there's certainly friendship, love.
It's so much about friendship. It's mostly that, right? In the end, it's a lot of dates, but the friendship's there the whole time.
Yeah. Do you have pieces of art that live and take residence in your heart the way that HIMYM has for these fans?
I mean, for me, I feel like what Jessica's talking about, and I think the feeling she's talking about can only be achieved through a franchise, a series, something that goes on a while that you can spend that much time with. Your favorite movie that's like an hour and a half long, 2 hours long, you can go back into that world over and over, but it's kind of always that one thing. It's hard to replicate that, what she's talking about, what a TV series can give you. It's such a gift to get 9 seasons to do a show. So for me, what comes up for me when she says that is like Star Wars, the Star Wars franchise, just getting to that stretching across my entire childhood into my adult life. The Harry Potter books and movies give me some of that feeling. And then sitcom-wise, what made me want to write sitcoms was Cheers, mostly, the show Cheers. Buffy gave me some of that in my 20s and led into the show and casting Allison Hannigan. And it's funny, I had one other thing that came up for me from her question was, I just watched the Conan O'Brien Mark Twain Prize show on Netflix, which is great.
Is that where
everybody brings their A game?
Will Ferrell's so funny. I saw that clip.
Will Ferrell's so funny. Watch it. Watch the whole thing. It's all killer, no filler. It's like everybody comes and brings their A game because they love Conan so much. And why am I bringing that up? It's because watching that made me realize how much Conan O'Brien has meant to me. From 1993 premiering at Dave Letterman's old slot. Dave Letterman a lot to me too. I wrote for Dave Letterman after, a few years after that. I wanted to write for Conan. Carter and I both really were angling to write for Conan, and they were not hiring, but Letterman was. We were incredibly lucky, and I love Letterman equally as much and in a different way. But Conan, just watching the Netflix special about his sort of totality of his career, I felt like emotional watching it, because I'm like, I just feel like I've lived 30 years with this guy. And I got this brief little intersection with him where he came in, spoilers, he was a background extra in an episode of How I Met Your Mother. We will explain that more when we get to it many years from now. And after that, he knew that Carter and I were big fans, and we asked him to lunch. And so a few weeks later, we got to spend a couple hours having lunch with Conan. And it was I just had this feeling in watching it that I think is what Jessica's talking about, which is you just can't, not many things can give you the feeling that you spent your whole life with somebody. You've spent years and years and years in this world or with this energy. And so I'm so happy HIMYM was that to her. What is it for you, Josh? What comes up to you for you of that? Like, what have I held with me this across such a long time?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about the movie Sing Street, which is one of my favorite movies. I've just seen. I
love that movie. I just rewatched that movie.
I bet Elliot likes that movie too. Has he seen it?
He hasn't seen that. Yeah, that would be a great one to watch. What a music movie! One of the great music movies and
such
great brother movies.
Yes,
sibling movies.
It just works on all levels for me. I also, I'm a huge fan of the Before trilogy, the Linkletter.
See, that's it, trilogy, because you have years and years. That spans 15 years. Those 3 movies,
and you get to watch them age, which is always so moving to watch people get older. And
yes,
I just think there's something, he really catches something in those movies. The last one's almost like impossible to watch in some ways because it's so tragic, but also so beautiful. But I love those. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's certain authors that I just am always coming back to. I've talked about this before, but Nick Cave does this weekly. It's called the Red Hand Files, and he just answers kind of like reader mail, and he's the most beautiful writer. He's really funny, and it's reliably the best thing I read every week. And I feel like I get to sit around this campfire with Nick Cave and have him tell. He wrote one today that was so funny about him and Nick Cage getting confused. And he was drinking with this guy whose wife was leaving him. And he was like, my wife loves you, man. I need to tell her. And he realized he thought he was Nick Cage, the actor, not Nick Cave, the rock star. So he ends up like writing an autograph for her. And he ends up talking about, like Raising Arizona was a tough shoot, but the Coen brothers are so great. And he was so drunk, just imitating Nick Cage. But I love those so much. And I think, I don't know, I think the campfires I tend to gravitate around are a little more probably movies or books. But I grew up watching Cheers and Family Ties and that, that Thursday lineup, that Night Court LA Law. I mean, so I feel I watched so much more TV when I was a kid than I do now, much to my wife's chagrin. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone gets in this business that we're in without having things that have really taken up residence in their psyche, And I'm sure we'll end this and I'll think of 8 more and want to talk
Well,
about them.
I think you hit the nail on the head by saying the word campfire. I think Jessica feels like she was around this campfire with us for all these years. We're all telling stories, and I think it's such a gift to get to have that campfire kind of burn for enough years to sort of tell enough stories around. And I think it's so rare to get to do that. That's why my brain went to like things I've spent lots of time with. I think that's what she's talking about. So yeah, thank you, Jessica, for the question. Thank you for spending that much time with us around the campfire. And this new campfire too. So thank you.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show was produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios, and our digital content producer, aka Gen Z Master, is Emily Blumberg. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor, with additional music by Craig Thomas and Andrew Majewski. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Want some merch? Click on the store link or go to howyougetyourmerch.com. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's newsletters on Substack. Order Craig Thomas's debut novel at craigthomaswriter.com/novel. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?